The race session is at 1950s mountain race in Stuttgart, Germany. Attila Szanyi from Hungary is first. Rene Robertson from England is P2. Dominic Singendonk is third. John Astrup from New Zealand is P4 driving a Mazda RX-3. Glenfield from United Kingdom is 5th. Marcus Singendonk is 6th. Dominic Favard from United Kingdom is P7. Brian Patterson from Scotland is P8. David Kelsall from England is 9th. Attila Szanyi is first. Remaining in the session. Race start. David Kelsall is 9th. David Kelsall is now P8. Dominic Favard is P9. Brian Patterson in Fieldbergring is P6. John Astrup in Salzgrund is 4th. John Astrup is now P9. Dominic Singendonk in Vakel is P2. Dominic Favard is P6. Dominic Singendonk in Rhodes Cruz is 2nd. Marcus Singendonk is 7th, 0.8 behind Dominic Favard. John Astrup is 9th, 0.4 behind Attila Szanyi. Dominic Singendonk in Sprungbrett is 2nd, 1.0 behind Rene Robertson. Marcus Sinjendonk in Teufels Cartier is 7th, 0.9 behind Dominic Favard. Marcus Sinjendonk lost P7 to Adalek Sanyi. John Astrop is 9, 0.3 behind Marcus Sinjendonk. David Kelsall in Stockborn is 6, 0.3 behind Dominic Favard. John Astrop is 9th driving a Mazda RX-3, 0.3 behind Marcus Sinjendonk. John Astrop passed Marcus Sinjendonk for 8th. David Kelsall in Skipperhead is P6, 0.4 behind Dominic Favard. Dominic Favard in Grottenbach is 6th battling David Kelsall. Adalek Sanyi is 7th battling Dominic Favard. "25 minutes remaining in the session. Glenfield in Fieldbergring on lap 2 is P3, 1.7 behind Dominic Sinjendonk. Adalek Sanyi in Fieldbergring is 7th, 0.4 behind Dominic Favard. John Astrop from New Zealand is P8, 0.8 behind Adalek Sanyi. Adalek Sanyi from Hungary is P7, 0.5 behind Dominic Favard. Adalek Sanyi passed Dominic Favard for P6. Dominic Favard in Weisberg on lap 2 is P7, 0.4 behind Adalek Sanyi. John Astrop in Rotskreuz is 8th driving a Mazda RX-3, 0.3 behind Dominic Favard. Glenfield in Kleiner Feldberg is 3rd. Best lap is a 4:51.998. 8.998 off the fastest lap. John Astrop in Kleiner Feldberg is 8th, 0.3 behind Dominic Favard. Adalek Sanyi in Teufels Cartier is P6, 0.5 behind David Kelsall. John Astrop is P8, 0.4 behind Dominic Bobard. Dominic Sinjendonk in Stockborn is third, 0.4 behind Glenfield. Dominic Bobard is 7th, 0.1 ahead of John Astrop. John Astrop in St. Placken is P7. Best lap is a 5:04.678. 21.678 off the fastest lap. David Kelsall in Skifferhead is P8, 0.1 behind John Astrop. Adelak Sanyi in Gritenbach is P5, 0.4 behind Brian Patterson. Adelak Sanyi passed Brian Patterson for P4. Dominic Bobard is 8th, 0.4 behind John Astrop. John Astrop from New Zealand is 7th, 0.4 behind David Kelsall. John Astrop was 4.8 faster last lap. 20 minutes remaining in the session. Dominic Sinjendonk in Salzgrund is third, 0.6 behind Glenfield. John Astrop in Salzgrund is P7, 0.4 behind David Kelsall. Dominic Bobard in Bakel on lap 3 is 8th, 0.5 behind John Astrop. John Astrop in Weisberg is P7, 0.1 behind David Kelsall. Is 8th. Best lap is a 4:47.665. 9.613 off the fastest lap. John Astrop on lap 3 is 7th, 0.3 behind David Kelsall. Dominic Bobard in Kleiner Feldberg is 8th, 0.3 behind John Astrop. Dominic Sinjendonk entering the pits is P4. Dominic Bobard is now 7th. John Astrop in Sprungbrett on lap 3 is 6th, 0.4 ahead of Dominic Bobard. Dominic Bobard in Teufelskartier is 7th, 0.3 behind John Astrop. John Astrop is 7th. Best lap is a 4:43.339. 5.287 off the fastest lap. Marcus Singendonk in Stockborn on lap 3 is P8, 0.1 behind John Astrup. Marcus Singendonk passed John Astrup for 7th. John Astrup on lap 3 is P8, 0.5 behind Marcus Singendonk. John Astrup passed Marcus Singendonk for 7th. David Kelsall is P5, 0.5 behind Brian Patterson. David Kelsall passed Brian Patterson for 4th. Brian Patterson from Scotland in Siegfried STR is P5, 2.0 behind David Kelsall. Glenfield exiting pits. John Astrup in Siegfried STR is P7. Adalek Sanyi exiting pits. Adalek Sanyi is 4th. 15 minutes remaining in the session. Brian Patterson exiting pits. Dominic Faubourg exiting pits. Marcus Singendonk is P8. Dominic Faubourg in Oberriefenberg is 6th, 0.5 behind Brian Patterson. Marcus Singendonk on lap 3 is 7th. Marcus Singendonk exiting pits. John Astrup exiting pits. Dominic Faubourg in Bakel is 6th, 0.9 behind Brian Patterson. Glenfield is P3, 2.2 behind David Kelsall. Dominic Faubourg is P6, 1.4 behind Brian Patterson. Glenfield is 3rd, 1.7 behind David Kelsall. Dominic Faubourg in Sprungbrett is 6th, 1.5 behind Brian Patterson. Dominic Faubourg was 3.1 faster last lap. Glenfield in Stockborn is P3, 0.3 behind David Kelsall. David Kelsall was 15.9 faster last lap. Glenfield passed David Kelsall for P2. David Kelsall in St. Placan is third, 1.2 behind Glenfield. John Astrup in Teufels Cartier is 8th, 2.7 behind Marcus Singendon. Rene Robertson exiting pits. Adalek Sanyi from Hungary is P4, 0.5 behind David Kelsall. Adalek Sanyi passed David Kelsall for third. Dominic Favard in Siegfried STR is P6, 1.5 behind Brian Patterson. David Kelsall exiting pits. Minutes remaining in the session. Brian Patterson in Oberriefenberg is P5. Best lap is a 4:46.908. 8.856 off the fastest lap. Dominic Favard from United Kingdom in Oberriefenberg is P6. 0.7 behind Brian Patterson. Dominic Favard passed Brian Patterson for 5th. John Astrup is P8 driving at RX3, 2.9 behind Marcus Singendon. Dominic Favard in Weisberg is 5th, 1.5 behind David Kelsall. John Astrup in Vakel is 8th. John Astrup passed Marcus Singendon for P7. Dominic Favard in Kleiner Feldberg is 5th, 1.1 behind David Kelsall. Adalek Sanyi is P3, 2.0 behind Glenfield. Dominic Favard in Teufels Cartier is P5, 0.4 behind David Kelsall. Adelaksanya in Sant Placan is third, 2.3 behind Glenfield. Kelsall is P5, 1.1 behind Dominic Faubourg. Glenfield in Siegfried STR is P3, 0.4 behind Adelaksanya. Rottenbuch on lap 5 is P5, 0.5 behind Dominic Faubourg. Glenfield in Oberriefenberg is third, 2.5 behind Adelaksanya. David Kelsall in Oberriefenberg is 5th, 0.8 behind Dominic Faubourg. Dominic Faubourg was 5.5 faster last lap. 5 minutes remaining in the session. Glenfield in Faceberg is P3. Best lap is a 4:41.867. 4.666 off the fastest lap. David Kelsall is 5th, 1.5 behind Dominic Faubourg. Glenfield in Kleiner Feldberg is P3, 2.0 behind Adelaksanya. Adelaksanya was 4.7 faster last lap. David Kelsall is P5, 2.7 behind Dominic Faubourg. John Astrup from New Zealand in Roads Cruise is P7, 3.4 behind Brian Patterson. David Kelsall in Teufels Cartier on lap 6 is 5th, 2.6 behind Dominic Faubourg. John Astrup from New Zealand in Sprungbrett is 7th, 1.7 behind Brian Patterson. John Astrup was 33.0 faster last lap. David Kelsall is 5th, 4.4 behind Dominic Faubourg. John Astrup in Stockborn is P7. Brian Patterson in Sandplaken on lap 6 is P7 battling John Astrup. Brian Patterson passed John Astrup for 6th. John Astrup is P7 driving a Mazda RX-3, 0.2 behind Brian Patterson. John Astrup passed Brian Patterson for P6. Brian Patterson in Grothendieck is P7, 2.2 behind John Astrup. David Kelsall from England in Salzgrund is 5th, 2.7 behind Dominic Faubourg. Dominic Faubourg is 4th, 4.0 ahead of David Kelsall. Marcus Singendonk is P8. John Astrup in Salzgrund is 6th. David Kelsall from England is 5th, 4.7 behind Dominic Faubourg. Brian Patterson in Baseberg on lap 7 is 7th. David Kelsall in Sprungbrett is P5, 4.8 behind Dominic Faubourg. Dominic Faubourg is P4. Rene Robertson is P1. Glenfield is third. Rene Robertson in Salzgrund is first. David Kelsall is fifth. Rene Robertson in Weisberg is first. Adelek Sanyi in Rhodes Cruz is second. Best lap is a 4:36.993. Glenfield from United Kingdom is third. Adelek Sanyi in Sprungbrett is P2, 1.8 behind Rene Robertson. Rene Robertson in Teufels Cartier is P1, 1.2 ahead of Adelek Sanyi. Adelek Sanyi in Stockborn is P2, 1.1 behind Rene Robertson. Dominic Faubourg in Teufels Cartier on lap 8 is P4. Adelek Sanyi in Skifferheck is P2, 0.4 behind Rene Robertson. Adelek Sanyi passed Rene Robertson for first. Rene Robertson in Siegfried STR is P2, 1.9 behind Adelek Sanyi. The leader has just finished the race. Adelek Sanyi finished first. Rene Robertson finished P2. Glenfield is third. Glenfield finished P3. Dominic Faubourg is fourth. Dominic Favard finished P4. David Kelsall finished 5th. John Astrup is P6. John Astrup finished 6th. Brian Patterson is 7th. Brian Patterson finished P7.